Allah, ittaqillah haythuma kun, have taqwallah wherever you are. And now today we are at hadith number 20, which is the hadith of Uqba ibn Amr, radiallahu anhu, wherein the Prophet ﷺ is saying something. And before we get to that, I just want you, I'm giving you the last two hadith because I want you to pay very close attention. Imam An-Nawawī, rahimahullah, he was not just a scholar of hadith, but he was also a faqih. He was a jurist. There were some muhaddithun that were not just muhaddithun, but they were strong in fiqh. And therefore, when they put their books together, their compilations of hadith together, they were very, very meticulous. Like Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah. SubhanAllah, anyone who ever studied the Sahih, any part of the Sahih of Imam al-Bukhari will see that this man was a genius, the way he put that book together. Right? Imam al-Bukhari, like Imam Abu Dawood and others, they were fuqaha, they were jurists. Imam An-Nawawī, the same thing. And you'll see he brings some hadith in these 40 hadith, and then he'll bring another hadith, and there's a connection. There's a connection between them. So this hadith was reported by Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri. His kunya is Abu Mas'ud. Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri. What do you know about him just from hearing this? What stands out? Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari al-Badri. For those of you who are attending the seerah class, you should know this. If you're attending the seerah class, your brother don't matter. The Sahaba, if we wanted to categorize the Sahaba, there's two big groups, two big categories. The first are called al-Muhajirun, and the other are called al-Ansar. Al-Muhajirun are those who migrated from Mecca to al-Medina. Al-Ansar are those who were natives of Medina. They were already there. So from this name, Uqba ibn Amr al-Ansari, we know that he was from the natives of Medina. He's also called al-Badri. What do you know about that? Huh? I thought so too. Usually if you see al-Badri, it means he participated in al-Badr. But this Sahabi, he didn't participate in al-Badr. He actually settled in al-Badr. He settled down there, and so they called him al-Badri. But he never participated in Ghazwat Badr. He participated in Ghazwat Uhud, wa ma ba'daha, and all of the battles that took place afterwards. But he didn't participate in al-Badr. But he's called al-Badri because that's where he settled down. Alright? That was a trick question. That's an exception to the rule. The general rule is if you hear al-Badri, that means he participated in al-Badr. And I will just mention two other things about him. He has 37 hadith in the Kutub al-Sittah. The Kutub al-Sittah, the 6 books, what are they? Who can tell me? Sahih Bukhari, the Sahih of Imam Muslim, Abu Dawood, Ibn Tirmidhi, and Nasai Ibn Majah. Alright? Those are those. There are other books of hadith, but these are what they call the 6, the mother books. Right? Many books of hadith, mashallah, tabarakallah. The scholars of hadith, too many books of hadith. There's the Muwatta of Imam Malik. There's the Musannif of Ibn Abi Shayba, almost 40,000 hadith in that book. The Musnad of Imam Ahmed, large books, right, of hadith. The Musnad of Imam al-Darimi, the Musnad of Abu Ya'la, the Sahih of Ibn Hibban, Ibn Khuzaymah, Al-Mustadrak of Imam al-Hakim, the book of hadith of Imam al-Daraqutni, al-Bayhaqi, all those, mashallah, so many. But the 6 main books, if you hear someone say this is from the Kutub al-Sittah, it means that. If someone say it's in the 7 books, what is the 7th? The Musnad of Imam Ahmed. So if you read in a book and they say this is in the 7 books, then you know that the 7th is the Musnad of Imam Ahmed. If they say it's in the Sunan, if it's in the Sunan, what does that mean? Abu Dawud is one of the four. There are 4 books of Sunan, popularly known as Sunan. Abu Dawud, Ibn Majah, An-Nasa'i, and At-Tirmidhi is included in it, even though his collection of hadith is called Al-Jami', Jami' At-Tirmidhi. It's actually more accurate. However, it is included amongst these 4. Alright, this is a side benefit. Side benefit. Uqba ibn Amr, radiyallahu anhu, he said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن مما أدرك الناس من كلام النبوة الأولى إذا لم تستحي فاصنع ما شئت. Very, very short hadith. Very short hadith, but this hadith is azim. Azim. And it's talking about a quality, a characteristic that is azim. Every believer should have it. He said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what it means? Verily from that which the people obtain from the speech of the prophets of old is that if you feel no shame, if you don't feel shy, do as you wish. If you don't feel shame, if you don't feel shy, do as you wish. The scholars there's 3 different ways this hadith is explained. Especially, particularly the Prophet, when his statement, if you feel no shyness, do as you wish. Before we get into those 3 different ways, let me explain the first part. He said, verily from the speech which the people have with them that comes from the prophets of old. It means that this hadith, this issue of al-haya, shyness, is something which all the prophets called their people to. And that shows you in and of itself how great this is. Right? Every Nabi, every prophet called his people to al-haya, shyness. Alright? As for the 3 different explanations for this hadith in terms of what it means, the first explanation, if you feel no shyness, do as you wish. The first is that they're saying that although this is a command, what is intended is al-khabr. It is informing us of something. And like it is as if the Prophet ﷺ is saying to you, if your haya does not prevent you from what it is that you intend to do, if it doesn't prevent you from doing what it is that you want to do, then you may do it. Yani, you're going to do that. If a person doesn't have haya, if he doesn't have shyness, he's going to do that. So هذا أمر بمعنى الخبر. This is a command with the intended meaning of khabar. This is information. The Prophet ﷺ is informing us about something. The second explanation for this, they say هذا تهديد ووعيد. This is a type of threatening, a warning, if you like. Which means what? This is similar to Allah's statement, اِعْمَلُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ. Do as you wish. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. Verily Allah knows very well. He sees what you do. اِعْمَلُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ. Do as you wish. This isn't permission. I'll give you an example from layman's speech. For some of you in here are parents like myself. How many of you have told your children to do something or not to do something? Right? You tell them not to do something and they're doing it. Y'all keep it up. You ever hear this statement? Y'all keep it up. That's not permission. That's not saying do it. That means if you keep it up, something's going to happen. There's going to be a consequence. Tahdidun wa wa'id. That is similar to that verse. اِعْمَلُوا مَا شِئْتُمْ. Do as you wish. This is a Surah Fussilat. Surah Fussilat, verse 40. Alright? And that is in your handout. The third explanation is that this command is lil-ibaha, given permission. In other words, whatever it is that you want to do, look at it, think about it, and if you see that it is not something that you should feel shy from doing, then you may do it. You may do that. So these are three different ways the scholars explain this. Brothers and sisters in Islam, al-haya min al-iman. Shyness is from iman, it's from faith. There's a hadith in Sahih Muslim on the authority of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu. The Prophet ﷺ said, perhaps you've heard this hadith if you didn't memorize it. He said, al-iman bid'un wa sab'una shu'ba. Iman consists of 70 odd branches. فَأَعْلَاهَا قَوْلُ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. The highest of those branches is to say, لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. وَأَدْنَاهَا إِمَاطَةُ الْأَذَى عَنِ الطَّرِيقِ. And the lowest of those branches is to remove something harmful from the pathway. And then he said, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَالْحَيَاءُ شُعْبَةٌ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ. And shyness is a shu'bah, a branch of iman. It is from iman. Alright? And another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, iman, haya, doesn't bring anything but khayr. All of haya is khayr, is good. Alright? And there are too many ahadith that talk about the importance of haya for a Muslim. But it is enough for us to know here today that haya is from iman. There's a book called Kitab al-Iman by Abu Qasim. Abu Qasim is a very important book. And in this book, he has a hadith in there wherein the Prophet ﷺ said, in the hadith of Sahih, Shaykh al-Albani did the checking for this book, mashallah. Prophet ﷺ said that iman, or a haya, accompanies iman. And if one of them goes, the other goes. And they accompany each other. Haya. Haya. So what is al-haya? Haya, lughatan, from the standpoint of the Arabic language, is hishma, shyness. Right? Shyness. You know what shyness is. Right? You know what shyness is. Lughatan, linguistically, it means shyness. وَأَمَّا شَرْعًا, remember before we said, anytime you hear a word in the Quran and Sunnah, when the scholars, they teach us, they always teach us what is the linguistic meaning, but they also give us the shar'i meaning, the religious, the legislative meaning. And usually, there's a connection between the two. There's a connection between the two. But it's very important to know the shar'i, the religious meaning of the word. Some people went astray in this area. Some people went astray in this area. They looked at the linguistic meaning and they ignored the religious meaning of the word. Alright? Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, he said, Al-haya khuluqun yub'athu sahibahu ala ijtinabi al-qabih. Al-haya, shyness, is a characteristic or a quality that causes the person to stay away from al-qabih, that which is distasteful, that which is ugly, that which is disliked, right? Despicable. وَيَمْنَعُ مِنَ التَّقْصِيرِ فِي حَقِّ ذِي الْحَقِّ. And it is, at the same time, it prevents a person from falling short and giving the right to the one who possesses a right. Right? Allah has a right over us. Our parents have a right over us. Our neighbor has a right over us. Our spouses have a right over us. Our children have a right over us. Right? So, this is, Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani explained it. It means this. It means, yani, khuluqun. It is a characteristic that causes a person to stay away from, to avoid al-qabih, that which is despicable, that which is reprehensive. وَيَمْنَعُ مِنَ التَّقْصِيرِ فِي حَقِّ ذِي الْحَقِّ. And it prevents a person from falling short with respect to fulfilling the rights or giving the one who has rights over you. Also, the scholars say, Al-haya khuluqun qalbi. It is from those characteristics, and of course it is from the actions of the heart. Right? It is from the actions of the heart. يَمْنَعُ صَاحِبَهُ مِنَ الْخِصَالِ الذَّمِيمَةِ. It prevents a person from those khisal, those characteristics, those qualities that are blameworthy. Alright? وَالْأَخْلَاقِ الْمُنْحَرِفَةِ, and deviant character. وَيَحْمِلُهُ عَلَى مَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ, and it causes a person to, or leads a person to the most honorable akhlaq, most honorable character. This is very important. Al-Haya, brothers and sisters in Islam, نوعان. It is of two types. Fitriyun, it is the natural haya that we are born with. Right? When we came into this world, there are certain qualities that we were born with. We came into this world with. You ever notice a little boy or a little girl at a certain age, they feel shy for you to be in the bathroom with them when they are bathing or when they're changing their clothes, right? That's something fitri. That's something from the natural disposition. And by the way, those are some of the best characteristics to have because it's natural in a person. The other one is muktasab. It's something that's earned. You weren't born with it, but you later obtained it. You later acquired it. How did you acquire it? From learning your religion. Learning about Allah. The more you know about Allah with His names and attributes, that gives birth to certain qualities and characteristics. For example, two of the names that Allah mentions the most in His book, Inna Allah Sami'un Alim. Sami'un Basir. Innahu Alimun Bidati Sudur. Muhammad Amin al-Shanqiti, rahimahullah, he said Allah did not reveal in His book a greater wa'id, a greater admonisher than the knowledge and the awareness that Allah knows all things and that Allah sees everything and that Allah hears everything. If you truly believe that Allah is all-knowing, if you truly believe that Allah sees everything, nothing is hidden from Him, if you truly believe that Allah hears even what you don't say with your mouth, وَنَعْلَمُ مَا تُوَسْوِسُ بِهِ نَفْسُ, we know what His nafs whispers to Him. إِنَّهُ عَلِيمٌ بِذَاتِ الصُّدُورِ, He knows what is in the chest. أَلَا يَعْلَمُ مَنْ خَلَقَ وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ, would He not know? Would the one who created not know? وَهُوَ اللَّطِيفُ الْخَبِيرُ, when He is Al-Latif. This name, subhanAllah, Al-Latif. Al-Latif, the one who knows all the subtleties. That which is open and that which is hidden. When you have this belief, whether cameras are around, whether the police are around, whether a human being is watching over you, supervising you, it doesn't matter. It's inconsequential because you are aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you. Even when you're on social media, when you're on your phone texting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees what you are putting there. And you know that Allah is going to hold you to account. One of the Salaf, he said to a man, if you want to disobey Allah, do it somewhere where He cannot see you. If you want to disobey Him, do it in a place where He cannot see you. Is there a place that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot see us? No, there is no such place. That is the point. That part. Right? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said in the authentic hadith, مَا كَرِهْتَ أَنْ يَرَاهُ النَّاسِ فَلَا تَفْعَلْهُ إِذَا خَلَوْتَ. This hadith is in As-Silsila As-Sahiha. Shaykh Al-Albani authenticated it. He said, whatever you dislike for the people to see, don't do it when you are alone. Don't do it when you're alone. Whatever you dislike for the people to see, don't do it when you are alone. Also, Bilal ibn Sa'd, rahimahullah, he's one of the tabi'een, right? After the Sahaba, those people who met the Sahaba, from the next generation, who met them, who learned from them, they are considered to be from the tabi'un, or tabi'een. Literally means the followers. And those who came after them, who met the tabi'een, they are called atba' or tabi'u at-tabi'een, those who followed the tabi'een. Bilal ibn Sa'd, he's from them. He said, Istahyu min Allah. Be shy of Allah. Wahdharullah. Exercise caution of Him. وَلَا تَأْمَنُوا مَكْرُ اللَّهِ. And don't feel safe. Don't underestimate makrullah, Allah's plotting. Do you know what Allah's plotting is? There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. This hadith is scary. It scares me when I read it and when I hear it, and it should make every Muslim afraid. Wallahi. The Prophet ﷺ said in one hadith, Shaykh al-Albani deemed it sahih, said, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ اللَّهِ يُعْتِ الْعَبْدِ مَا يُحِبُّهُ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ عَلَى الْمَعَاصِي فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْهُ إِسْتِدْرَاجٌ. He said, if you see that Allah has given a person all that he likes from the worldly affairs, while that person is established upon disobedience. That's what he's doing. He's disobedient. We all commit sin. But not everyone who commits sin is described as being established upon disobedience. So there's a difference. He said, if you see that Allah has given a person مَا يُحِبْ, what he loves, مِنَ الدُّنْيَا, from the dunya affairs, وَهُوَ مُقِيمٌ عَلَى الْمَعَاصِي, and this person is established upon ma'asi, disobedience, فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ مِنْهُ إِسْتِدْرَاجٌ. That is Allah plotting against that person. That is istidraj, plotting. As they say on the other side of the wall, giving you the rope. It's like a setup. So he said, be shy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be shy. And don't feel safe from his plotting. Now, al-haya. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves this quality. Some of you may know, or maybe not, maybe you don't know, and if you don't know, you'll hear it now, inshallah. One of Allah's names is Al-Hayy. Al-Hayy is the ever-living. Al-Hayy is the one who is shy. This comes in a hadith in Sunan Ibn Majah, on the authority of Salman al-Farisi, radiallahu anhu. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله حي كريم. Verily Allah is shy and generous, but you will not understand this without listening to the next part of the hadith. He said, يستحيي من عبده إذا رفع يديه أن يردهما صفرا. He said, verily Allah is hayy, shy and generous from his slave who raises, when he raises his hands, that he returns those hands empty. This hadith, and there are other hadith like this, that affirm this name for Allah. And in this hadith, the name Al-Hayy comes, and the sifa, Yastahyi. Now, how many of you heard this name before today? Yeah, this hadith is in Sunan Ibn Majah. And there's another narration in Sunan Abi Dawood, where the Prophet ﷺ one day saw a man bathing in public without an izar. He wasn't properly covered. And the Prophet ﷺ said publicly to the people, Inna Allaha hayy, Allah is shy, and he mentioned his name as Sittir. And he covers. He loves the covering. He loves for us to cover. Al-Muhim, what I want to say about this, just want to use it as a side point. From Allah's names, this is one of Allah's names, and this quality is His. However, we say about this haya, as it relates to Allah, it is a haya yaliqu bi jalalihi, that is befitting His majesty. Laysa kamithlihi shay wa huwa as-sami'u al-basir. There's nothing like Him, and He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. There is an ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah, perhaps every Muslim hears it. Every Muslim heard it, especially on the first night of Tarawih, Ramadan. Right? When the Imām, when the reciter is reciting. Wherein Allah says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحْيِي أَن يَضْرِبَ مَثَلًا مَا بَعُوضَ وَمَا فَوْقَهَا. Verily, Allah is not shy to present an example of a fly and what is above that. Imam al-Baghawi, rahimahullah, he said about this ayah, لا يمنعه الحياء أن يضرب مثلا. Meaning, this means here, his hayat, this quality of his, doesn't prevent him from mentioning this example. The understanding of the ayat is not that Allah doesn't have hayat, but that Allah's hayat doesn't prevent him from mentioning these examples. Alright? I'll come back to that a little later, inshallah. But I want to mention something here. Even though hayat is good, there are some times where it could be misused. Right? Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, she was expressing her love and admiration for the women of the Ansar. She said, their hayat does not prevent them from seeking ilm, from seeking knowledge. And an example of this is that of Sulaym. Hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. Sulaym, one day she comes to the Prophet ﷺ, and he's in the presence of his wife, Salama. You know who Sulaym is. She's the wife of Abu Talha al-Ansari. She's the mother of Anas ibn Malik. She was a all of our wives and our daughters need to know who Sulaym is. She was an amazing personality from the Sahaba. And this hadith is an example of it. She came to the Prophet ﷺ and she said, before she prefixed her question, she said, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَسْتَحْيِي مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Verily Allah isn't shy of the truth. And then she asked her question. She said, so if a woman sees something in her sleep, does she have to perform ghusl? Listen to the question. So even in her question, first of all, this is a question that usually a woman would not ask a man. A woman feels shy to ask a man this question. However, he's the messenger of Allah ﷺ, right? But even in the way she asked the question, there's hayat in the question. She didn't go into details about what is being seen in the dream. She just said, if a woman sees something in her sleep, does she have to perform ghusl? The Prophet ﷺ responded, Na'am, إِذَا رَأَتِ الْمَاءِ. Yes, if she sees water, if she sees liquid, excretion. You understand that? So, hayat is good, but it should not prevent you from seeking knowledge. There is another example from the Sahaba, Ali ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu. Ali ibn Abi Talib, we all know who he is, right? What is Ali's relationship to the Prophet ﷺ? Cousin, what else? Son-in-law. Look what Ali radiallahu anhu said. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he said about himself. He said, Kuntu rajulan madha'an. He said, I was a man who becomes very excited easily. Meaning aroused. That's the word. That's the intended meaning. Aroused easily. He said, radiallahu anhu, وَكُنْتُ أَسْتَحْيِي أَنْ أَسْأَلَ النَّبِيِّ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمْ لِمَكَانِ ابْنَتِهِ. But I was shy to ask the Prophet ﷺ my question due to he's married to his daughter. So he doesn't want to go to the Prophet ﷺ and ask him about this issue. The issue he's asking about is when a man becomes aroused, right? Men experience something. And even the boys, when they reach puberty, they will experience this. And that is the clear liquid that comes from the male. right? It is called in English semen. So Ali radiallahu anhu wanted to know, when a person experiences that, what does he have to do? Because it's clear what we have to do when you see the other thing, right? The thicker fluid. So he said, radiallahu anhu, فَأَمَرْتُ الْمِقْدَادِ ibn al-Aswad. So I ordered al-Miqdad ibn Aswad to go and ask the Prophet ﷺ the question. Right? So he's shy, so he's not going to go ask the question directly, but the question has to be asked. So he sent someone else, and the Prophet ﷺ said, when a person experiences that, all he has to do is wash his private part and then perform wudu, meaning he doesn't have to make ghusl. He doesn't have to take a complete bath. You following me, brothers? Hopefully the sisters are following me. I'm giving these examples, but they're very, very important, and each one of these examples that is directly related to al-haya. Therefore, the Muslim scholars say all of the 5 ahkam are applicable to al-haya. In some situations, al-haya could be wajib. Some situations, al-haya could be mustahab. Wajib meaning obligatory. Mustahab meaning recommended. In some cases, it can be haram, prohibited. And in some cases, it can be makruh, disliked. And last but not least, it can even be mubah, allowed. These are al-ahkam, the 5 legislative rulings. So it is applicable to these. Al-haya, with respect to whom we should be shy of, can be categorized in 3. Al-haya min Allah, shyness from Allah. Al-haya min al-nas, shyness from the people. And shyness from even your own self. To have shyness even from your own self. As for al-haya min Allah, having shyness from Allah, وَذَلِكَ بِالْحِرْصِ عَلَى امْتِثَالِ أَوَامِرِهِ وَاجْتِنَابِ نَوَاهِهِ. That is exemplified by being enthused, motivated, eager to carry out His orders and to stay away from His prohibitions. وَذَلِكَ إِنَّمَا يَكُونُ عَنْ مَعْرِفَةٍ وَمُرَاقَبَةٍ. And that can only occur with knowledge, ma'rifah, knowledge, وَمُرَاقَبَةٍ. Remember when we talked about the Hadīth of Jibreel, when we talked about al-ihsan? We said al-ihsan, the Prophet said al-ihsan, and ta'bud Allah annaka tarahu, to worship Allah as if you are seeing Him. وَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَاهُ. But even though you cannot see Him, you do not see Him, فَإِنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. You have certain knowledge that He sees you. We said in that class that al-ihsan is therefore on 2 levels. The highest level is al-mushahada, to worship Allah as if you are actually seeing Him. And the next level is al-muraqabah, to worship Allah while being certain that He is watching you. After all, from Allah's names is Ar-Raqib, the watcher. Inna Allah kana alaykum raqiba. Verily Allah is a watcher over you. This is hayat from Allah. As for hayat from the people, this necessitates that a person utilizes good manners. Right? What are some good manners? Things that we teach our children. We teach our children that if you have to burp, you suppress it. You have to yawn, you don't let your mouth open. And, we don't do that in front of people, huh? You cover it. You cover your mouth. Huh? If you sneeze, you cover your mouth. Right? You say, Alhamdulillah. Teach them good manners, huh? If a person feels he has to break wind, huh? What is he supposed to do? Excuse himself. Should leave the room. You don't sit there and be like, oh, sorry. Huh? Some people have no hayat. Here in the West, you see there's some strange things. And unfortunately, this has affected even many of the Muslims. You see children doing things, it's very clear. This person has no hayat. Huh? Haya should prevent you from taking food that you have no intention to eat. You only take what you believe and what you intend to eat, and you leave the rest. So you don't waste the food, throwing food in the garbage. That's something aib, shameful. And that's something we have to teach our children. Here in the West is the opposite. They say don't teach your children shame. Don't teach them that. You don't need to feel shame. Don't shame people. Don't judge. This is what they're telling people. There's no judgment. No judgment zone. Right? Popular term. No judgment. What's right for you is not necessarily right for this one. What's bad? Everything is relative. No, that's not the case. No, there is something right and there's something wrong. There's something haq, there's something batil, there's truth, there's falsehood. There's something called a man and there's something called a woman. Even when it comes to genders, they want to mix everything up. Right? Even when it comes to clothes. The clothes you buy for your children, be careful, brothers and sisters. Be careful the clothes you buy your children. Don't just buy it because your child wants it. Your child probably wants it because it's the style, it's the fad. But you don't know what's associated with those clothes. There's clothes now, they call it metro dressing. Metro. Metro is a gray area. It's neither male nor female. Metro. These pants the boys are wearing that is grabbing their legs really tight. Haya prevents a man from wearing something like. Someone one time bought me some pants. They said, I got you a gift. I want you to wear these. I looked at them. I was like, nah, I appreciate it. Male already wearing it, but I can't put those on. What are you talking about? You didn't even try it on. I don't need to try it on. I'm looking at those things. I can't put that on. Right? Haya, shyness prevents you from doing that. Based on what we said, where is haya? Where is the place of haya? In the heart. Haya is in the heart. The hadith we mentioned of Abu Hurairah is a proof of that. And obviously, what is the relationship with the heart and the rest of the body? Think about hadith number 6. What is the relationship with the heart and the rest of the body? Yes?
The heart is like the main control panel, and like the rest of the body.
MashaAllah. The main control panel. Huh? The heart is the Amir, is the commander. And the rest of the body, those are the soldiers. The Prophet ﷺ said in the Hadīth of An-Nawawī bin Bashir, أَلَا إِنَّ فِي الْجَسَدِ مُضْغَةً. Verily in the body is a piece of flesh. إِذَا صَلَحَتْ. If it is good, if it is healthy, if it is sound, صَلَحَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. All of the body will be good. وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ. And if it is corrupted, فَسَدَ الْجَسَدُ كُلُّهُ. All of the body will be corrupted. أَلَا وَهِيَ الْقَلْبِ. And that is the heart. So if haya is in the heart, it's going to manifest itself in one's speech. There's certain words, there's certain speech Muslims should not be saying. Certain vocabulary words, we shouldn't say it. Why? Out of haya. I heard a Muslim child address their father as dude. Come on, dude. That's what he says to his father. A'udhu billah. This is disrespect on so many levels. We have to teach our children haya, even in their speech, how to address. How do you talk to elders? How do you talk to your mom and dad? How do you talk to the elders in the masjid? Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, he was one day in the street and he saw a man walking with another man, and he said, he looked to the one who looked like he was the younger, and he said to him, what is the relationship of this man next to you? He said, this is my father. Abu Hurairah said, if he's your father, therefore never walk in front of him. Don't sit down before him and never address him by his first name. This hadith is in Adabul Mufrad by Imam al-Bukhari. Etiquettes. Haya, shyness, prevents you from talking to your parents a certain way. Haya prevents you from opening the door that is closed and just walking in. How many people today go inside of someone's house just because they have a good relationship with friends? Maybe he saw the main door open, so he just opened the screen door and just walks inside. You cannot do that. Islamically, this is incorrect. You cannot. You have to knock. You have to ring the doorbell. And then even then, when they say, who is it? We were taught, Islam teaches us, don't say me. You have to say your name. It is, this is Bashir. Or even when I go to my children's room, my daughter's room, I knock on the door, right? They are above the age of maturity, right? You cannot just walk in the room. What prevents you from doing that? Al-haya, shyness. In the house, how do you dress around your children? How do the children dress around each other? Look at the Prophet ﷺ told us that when the child reaches the age of 7, what? They're supposed to split the beds. They cannot sleep in the same bed with each other anymore. Islam is teaching us haya, shyness from a young age. Here in America, some kids bathe together even at the age of 8 and 9 years old. This is incorrect. All right. Someone asked a question from the sister side last week, and I had the paper, and I lost it. So if they would please write it again, I will try to answer your question. I apologize. I lost it. There is a question I'm going to answer right now, though, that comes up, and it came this week outside of this class, but it's relevant to what we just did in this class. The question is this. Some people say, you brothers and sisters who say you're upon the Sunnah, you say that it is not correct to make ta'weel of Allah's names and attributes. For example, when the people from some of the deviant sects, when they come by the verse in the Quran where Allah says, بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ, rather his 2 hands are outstretched. They say the meaning of hands is power, ni'mah, favor. They say, you tell us that this is wrong, that we should interpret them according to their apparent meaning, and we shouldn't make ta'wil. However, when you guys come across verses like وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ, He is with you wherever you are, you say it means by His knowledge, by His help, by His seeing, etc. So isn't this a contradiction? Do you understand the question, brothers? Do you understand the question?
Can you repeat it?
So, when it comes to Allah's names and attributes, Ahlul Sunnah, we affirm them. نُثْبِتُ لِلَّهِ مَا أَثْبَتَ لِنَفْسِهِ. We affirm for Allah what He affirmed for Himself, and whatever He negated for Himself, we negate it. Whatever we affirm it without tamthīlin, without making examples, without tashbih, without resembling Him to His creation. And when we negate, we do that without ta'til, without tahrif, altering the meaning, all those things. These people are saying, oh you Ahlul Sunnah, or as they like to say, oh you Wahhabis. Oh you Wahhabis. You say that you cannot make ta'weel of the sifats and of the names. You say that we're wrong for saying that His 2 hands in the verse doesn't mean hands, it means power. But yet at the same time, when you read the verse, وَهُوَ مَعَكُمْ أَيْنَمَا كُنْتُمْ, He is with you wherever you are, you say that Allah's ma'iyah, being with His servants, is a ma'iyah that is done bi'ilmihi, with His knowledge, with His seeing, ta'yeed, His aid and His support. Who can tell us how to respond to this question? I'm bringing it up because tonight we talked about this name and this attribute of Allah, Al-Hayy, and this attribute Al-Haya. Alright? Obviously, we say that Allah's Haya is not like our Haya. We affirm it for Allah. We believe it. We have no doubt about it. Because the Prophet ﷺ described Him with that. So we affirm that. How do you respond to this shubha, this misconception that could come, that some people have actually raised? the way you respond to it, the response to it, as the scholars explained, Ibn Taymiyyah mentioned this. He said, التفسير بالشيء بلوازمه مع الإيمان بأصله تفسير وبيان. Explaining something by what is necessitated by it, while believing in it, is tafsir, explanation, wa bayan, and clarification. والتفسير بالشيء بلوازمه مع الجحود والإنكار بأصله تحريف وتعطيل. This means to explain something by what is necessitated by it while rejecting its asl. This is a technical term. I hope I don't confuse people. Yani, the point is here is when we affirm for Allah this name Al-Hayy, when we affirm for Allah, Allah's ma'iyah, that Allah is with His creation, we believe it. We believe that. We believe that these attributes are real. And we take them according to their apparent meanings. However, when the scholars explain with His knowledge, with His aid, that is not ta'weed. That is clarifying and explaining. Whereas what the other groups do, they do ta'weed. They change the meaning. They do tahrif. So that verse, بَلْ يَدَاهُ مَبْسُوطَتَانِ, those people like the Ash'ariyah, the Mu'tazila, they say, no, He doesn't have two hands. Allah says in the Quran, when talking to Iblis, what prevented you from prostrating to the one I created with my own two hands? They say, no, it doesn't mean hands. It means power. هذا باطل, that's false. This is wrong. هذا انحراف, that's deviation. This is a side note, but it's very important. Very important, brothers and sisters in Islam. Very, very important. Any question? It can. It says, is it okay to test drugs and skincare on a criminal who is meant to be executed instead of testing them on animals? You understood the question? Huh? You know how when they do experiments with certain drugs, they test it on animals? This questioner is saying, why test it on the poor animals? Why not test it on the criminal who's going to be executed? He's going to be executed anyway. Why not do it on the criminal? Even if the criminal is going to be executed, we're not allowed to do that to him. We're not allowed to do that to him. And some of the things that they're doing to animals, we're not allowed to do either. You know? So hopefully that answers the question. Even if someone is a criminal, that doesn't give us the right to do anything to him or her. Doesn't mean they don't have any rights. Even when the Prophet ﷺ took captives of war, they were captives. They committed a crime. Right? They fought against the Muslims. Even then, he didn't just treat them any kind of way, but rather he treated them with dignity. Why? Because of their humanity. They're human beings. Any other question about what we said thus far? Wallahi, brothers and sisters, this topic is very important. I mean, we can give a lot of examples. When you go to the bathroom in a masjid, it's sad when you have to see a sign that says, please flush the toilet. In a masjid. It's sad when you see things like, please don't put paper towels, don't flush them in the toilet. Or when you see signs that says, please clean up behind yourself. This is what we call home training. That's something you're supposed to learn at home. Sheikh Muhammad Raslan, he said the difference between the people today and before is that people used to go to the marketplace with the mannerisms of going to the masjid, whereas today people come to the masjid with the mannerisms of the marketplace. Huh? From haya, when you come to the masjid, you silence your phone. Mistakes do happen. Sometimes we forget. But you know what's really shameful? When the ringtone comes on and you hear Cardi B. When you hear Jay-Z, Nicki Minaj. The ringtone. You're in ruku', Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, Subhana Rabbi al-Azim, and you hear that stuff. Hada Eid. Also, brothers and sisters in Islam, from haya is to make sure that we cover ourselves properly. Men and women. Men and women. To cover. You can have on clothes and still be naked if the clothes show, if they're transparent and if they are tight. Right? From haya, we have to be mindful of these things. From haya, many people who live in these upper class neighborhoods, you know what I'm talking about. One thing that stands out in any upper class neighborhood you go to, I don't care where you go, they got their windows open. There's no curtains. You've seen that? You go into the wealthy neighborhoods, even in this place, I guarantee you, tonight when you leave the masjid and you drive, I don't want you to do this. Don't do it. Don't do this because you're going to be looking, right? But you will notice that people have their curtains open. And so you can, anyone who wants to see can see anything and everything that's going on inside. This is the absence of haya. This is the absence of haya. And so we see this lack of haya in the men. We see the absence of haya even in our women. A lot of times when we talk about haya, we talk about women as if haya is only applicable to women. It's not just applicable to women. It's applicable to you as a husband. And any man who has haya, right? Because ghira and haya go hand in hand. You know what the ghira is. Ghira is that feeling that every male, whether you're a husband, a father, a brother, you have for your mother, you have for your wife, you have for your sister, you have for your daughter. When a man has ghira for the females in his family, when they want to leave the house, he doesn't allow them to leave the house with perfume. He doesn't allow them to leave the house and they're not dressed properly. He says, oh my daughter, oh wife, oh dear sister, oh mom. And he uses good word, I love you. I love you for the sake of Allah, but please don't leave the house like this. Go change this. Go put something else on. This is from haya. Another question? My wife catches a student gossiping about her father, that he breaks wind in the house and one feels like vomiting. How should the advice in this situation? How should we advise in this situation? Yani, my wife catches a student gossiping about her father that he breaks wind in the house, and one feels like vomiting. Brothers and sisters in Islam, one of the reasons our children don't have good manners is because they don't see good manners with us. You're sending your child to a Muslim school and paying that money to go to the Muslim school, but when they come home, your house is not an extension. It isn't a reflection. It isn't a representation of the very things that you want the Muslim school to teach your children. We have to do better with this as parents. We're dropping the ball. It's like we're telling our children, do what I say, but don't do as I do. Whatever manners that you want your children to exhibit, you should be exhibiting them. You should be the first to do them. Practicing shyness. You break in wind. You're supposed to leave the room. You have to leave the room. You don't stay in the same room. That's something big. Even when I was a kid, that was a big, serious matter. You could not do something like that. Break wind in the room. One for others, what you want for yourself. You wouldn't. No one would like for someone else to do that and then sit there right next to him. Subhanallah. The wife catches a student. I'm assuming student here means the wife catches one of her children gossiping about her father, meaning the wife's husband, that he breaks wind in the house, and one feels like vomiting. A wife, by the way, she can give nasiha to her husband. Just like the man is supposed to be advising his wife, the wife, she's supposed to be advising her husband. They're both supposed to be helping each other. They're a team. They're both there to cover each other. هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُنَّ. They are a covering for you and you are a covering for them. You're supposed to have her back. She's supposed to have your back. If she see you fall short in some area, she can kindly, Habibi. She used the good words, sweetie. And you likewise when you speak to her, wifey. You know, if it's done publicly, you can correct it without being rude. But what is even better is to advise privately. In many cases, you can advise these things privately, and then the parent can. It's not wrong with the parent saying to the children, you know, I did such and such earlier today. I was wrong. I was mistaken in that. I shouldn't do that. I don't want you guys to do that either. So don't. What you saw me do earlier, that was an exception. Don't follow me in that. Your children will respect you for that. There are many parents, they will never apologize to their children. It is, I don't know if it's a cultural thing or what, but some people are arrogant. It's like, because I'm older than you, I don't need to apologize to you. Who are you that I should have to apologize to you? How do you teach your child to be humble and to apologize when doing wrong if you cannot humble yourself and apologize when you're doing wrong? How can you teach them that? So we have to show our children Islam. We have to show our children the Sunnah. The brothers need to advise and teach their wives, and the wives need to advise and teach their husbands as well in a manner that is befitting. Another thing that you can do to help your families, brothers, is even if your wife doesn't physically attend the class in the masjid, let her listen to the class on the YouTube or the Facebook. Why not? Why not? She's going to be learning. Bring your child to the masjid so that they can learn and see the mannerisms. So they can learn. They can be reminded. Now they're gonna the child and the wife is going to hear the Imām say something that you've been saying. Sometimes people need to hear it from someone else other than you, not just you. So definitely these type of things, this should be avoided. A father should not do this. A father should excuse himself, just like a mother should excuse herself. If she's going to break wind, he's going to break wind, right? And the mother who hears her child talking about the father this way, she can also advise the child that, sweetie, I understand that that thing that you observe from your father is annoying and that is awful, but that's not something that you want to talk to other people about. You know, there are certain things, as they say, al-buyut laha asrar, homes, there are some things that you don't go and talk about. Because after all, that is what? Ghiba. That is backbiting. If I'm not allowed to backbite Abdullah and Abdurrahman, even more so my own father, I cannot backbite him. But that wife, if she hears something like that, she should talk to her husband. Sweetie, I just want you to know, you did such and such and such and such, and the children saw that or they heard that. You, inshallah, moving forward, you may want to do better in this area. And you just choose the right time. There's a way to do everything. A lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that goes both ways. How the husband talking to his wife and how the wife is talking to the husband. But you have a deen al-nasiha. Religion is advice. We have to advise each other. What good is you as a wife if you don't advise me for the sake of Allah? And what good am I as a husband if I don't advise you for the sake of Allah? You see me doing wrong and you're quiet. You're silent. If you are like that, you are more deserving to be described as my enemy than my friend. The enemy is the one that sees you doing wrong on the path to lead to destruction and just remain silent. Yeah. You had one question and then we're done, inshallah.
Okay. I'm going to just make it short. The sister asked, in the house around her kids, like 3, 4, and 5, can she wear, like she wears like t-shirts and like regular pants? Is that allowed?
Very important question. The question is essentially, how should a woman dress in the house when she's around her children? The general rule is that the places of wudu, which are what? Your arms, your feet, your hair, your neck, right? All the air, these, they can see these. But even around your children, in your house, you should not be wearing something that is transparent to show them what is and same thing with fathers, by the way. Same thing with the father. You cannot wear something that exposes your aura, whether it's to your sons or your daughters. Likewise, the mother. There are some people, they dress very inappropriately in front of the children. It's different before you have children. It's just a husband and wife. It's a different ballgame, right? You have more freedom. Once the children are there and the children are able to recognize and repeat, right? You have to be very careful about what you allow your children to see. What you allow your children to see, what you allow your children to hear. And if you practice these things, you will teach your children shyness. They will learn shyness from a young age. They will know shyness. If you do not be careful about these things, they will not have shyness later on in life. They will not. You talk to them about be shy, they're like, be shy? What are you talking about? What's that? Right? Does that answer the question? The sister, she should cover herself without revealing anything. The shape of her aura should not be, and the color, what's underneath, should not be exposed. For example, she doesn't wear lingerie around the house. Right? She doesn't wear that in front of her children. Alright? Now, so I hope that explains. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us of those who benefit from what we say and benefit from what we hear. May Allah give us tawfiq to continue with these classes. May Allah accept it from us. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Pardon me for being lengthy today.